Well, I didn't expect tonight to be our very last Facebook Live video covering the Arizona men's basketball team, but good things always come to an end. So
Yep, sure do.
Wildcats lose 73-71 in the Sweet 16 to the Xavier Musketeers, and when the final buzzer went off, Saul, it felt like kind of like an out of body view. I was like, man, this actually happened. And it went down to the very last possession with the game on the line. Arizona down by 2. Alonzo Trier tries to hit a three-pointer. It rattles in and out. Then the ball's loose. Next thing you know, the sound of the buzzer goes off.
Yeah.
So just how do you put this loss in perspective?
You know, it was a weird game all the way through. I know people could feel it watching TV. There was points where it looked like Arizona was about to take a stronghold, take a firm hold of the game.
Yeah.
They jumped up by 8, 69-61 at one point. But then they kept letting Xavier hit these wide open threes, and you just had this feeling like something funny is going on. And unfortunately for the Wildcats, this is the one time of the year where you can't afford to let something funny go on, because that'll end your season real quick. And unfortunately, Kadeem Allen will never play for the Arizona Wildcats again. And when you're a young kid and you're a freshman and you're 18, 19 years old, you don't really understand the ramifications of each loss like this. Arizona came out flat. They came out not really as energized as Xavier was from the get-go. The players admitted it. Sean Miller got at coach to a certain extent. There's no reason for any of this to happen tonight. It did, and now it's time to move on. And unfortunately, I know a lot of people are going to be upset about it, and a lot of people are going to be pointing the finger at Sean Miller, and to a certain extent, deservedly so, especially down the stretch with his team. Made some real funky calls in terms of substitutions, not being able to defend the same play that they got abused by twice, one for the game winner. But in the long run, I'm sure Sean Miller at some point is going to get to the Final Four with Arizona. Arizona fans are sick and tired of waiting for next year, because it's just like this habitual thing that always happens.
Yeah, and weird substitutions is one thing that caught my attention, especially the very last possession of the game, the 50-point, I shouldn't say possession, last minute of the game. I mean, it was a tight game, and he puts in Keanu Pinder. Yeah. I mean, we all sit here and talk about, Keanu Pinder, he's only in for his defense, so that might have been the right call, but Pinder only played 4 minutes of the game going into it. So he was rusty, and it showed. And Xavier, like you said, knocked down threes. The Musketeers went on a 7-0 run to end the game.
I didn't understand that at all. I didn't understand the play call to go down to Dusan Ristic when he hadn't played for 5 or 6 minutes. They put him into the game, and Ristic was he just threw up a shot that had no chance of going in from the side. And we were at a perfect angle to watch the whole thing, and I just couldn't understand that. I didn't understand why. Let me just say it like this. I know Alonzo Trier is one of the best players on the team, and he's definitely one of the best shooters on the team. However, if you're Lauri Markkanen and you don't shoot a shot for the last 11 minutes of the game, guess what? You know what? That's your fault. Because there was a couple times, especially on the wing, when Lauri had a wide open shot and held it just a little bit too long, passed it off to Alonzo, and Alonzo had to take the last shot. Lauri needs to find something inside himself to say, you know what, I'm just as good, I'm just as reliable, and I'm just as dominant, especially when you have a front line that's so small. Yeah. And, so everybody's going to talk about Sean Miller this, Sean Miller that, the zone. Yeah, I get it. But you know what? You also need players that step up and want to be the man. And Lauri Markkanen wasn't like that tonight. Yeah. He wasn't, and they needed him to be. Alonzo Trier wanted to be the man in the second half. But, he did. He had 15 points. He shot 3 of 6 from 3, and 2 of those were so close to going in. You thought, oh man, but it's just sad.
So I mean, Lauri Markkanen projected to be a top 10 pick, and he doesn't have that alpha dog in him. And is that mainly just the freshman in him, or I mean, what does that just come naturally for a basketball player? Because I was in the same boat as you, Saul. I was looking at, first of all, Arizona at one point was out rebounding Xavier by 10. I mean, you're out rebounding a team by double digits. Second chance points, they had, I believe it was 19 second chance points to Xavier 7. So they were getting active on the boards, but they couldn't do it.
But what's the equalizer? Threes. And they kept giving Xavier wide open threes time after time after time again. And you just can't do that against, at this point of the season, every team is a top 10 team.
Yeah.
And you just can't do that against a team that knows that you can beat them, because they beat them 2 years ago. It has a lot on the line. And they came in hot, beat Maryland, beat Florida State. Now they just beat Arizona, and they got Gonzaga next. They could take out the whole West region, the top 3 or 4 out of the top 7 teams in the West region, which would be quite a feat.
Yeah. And you touched on him a lot, Kadeem Allen, or you touched on him briefly. Kadeem Allen, senior guy or senior guard, leaving. He has a fairy tale story for how he kind of got to Arizona. Sure. He was from Wilmington, North Carolina, goes to Hutchinson, Kansas, plays for Hutchinson Community College, was a junior college player of the year, comes to Arizona, is expected to contribute right away, but Sean Miller finally understood at the time that there was no fit for him. And remember, his first year, he was playing behind T.J. McConnell and Parker Jackson-Cartwright. Then all of a sudden he becomes the point guard of the team, has 7 turnovers in Arizona's opening loss to Wichita State in the NCAA Tournament, comes back and is put in a position to be the leader of this team, not just by talking to these guys, but showing it by example. He focused on defense primarily and just adding kind of this mental toughness to this team. And Sean Miller said Kadeem Allen's his most favorite player that he's ever coached at Arizona. I mean, you had T.J. McConnell, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, Aaron Gordon, guys that are making names for themselves in the NBA. What does that say for Allen?
Well, Kadeem Allen, I'll say this right now. Kadeem Allen is probably one of the players that got the least amount of love in this program, but had the biggest heart.
Yeah.
I mean, for fans that didn't appreciate Kadeem Allen for everything that he did, I know Raleigh Alkins got a lot of love down the stretch of this season because everybody kind of just, you kind of grew with this kid. You could see him kind of mature beyond But Kadeem Allen, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more from a kid. And to his fault, actually, he could have even been a little bit more aggressive. He definitely could shoot every bit as good as Alonzo Trier, I think. He just didn't want to do that. That's not what he thought his role should be. And now he leaves, and he's one of the few players that leave without even going to an Elite Eight under Sean Miller. And that's something that I know he didn't want, but he's a great kid. He's a great kid. I don't know him like Sean Miller does, but from my perspective, he's one of my favorite players. I've said ever since he got here that he was going to be a great player, and had he got Arizona to the Final Four, I would have said that he had every right to be up in that Ring of Honor as anybody else, because he did more for this program than anybody else has without the results.
Yeah. So we all want to sit here and talk about next year.
Oh man.
I mean, we have DeAndre Ayton, the #1 overall recruit, coming in. But what about the players on this year's team and their plans for next year? Because Lauri Markkanen is projected to be a top 10 pick. Alonzo Trier, he pretty much played his way into the late first round, I would say. Early second round.
I would say there's absolutely no way Alonzo Trier would be a first-round draft pick. I don't care what any of the evaluators say. I don't care what Draft Express has him tabbed at. If you would have seen Alonzo Trier, and this is not a knock on Alonzo Trier, but this is what it is. If you watch this game and you watch him on defense, he is an absolute liability. He was. Every time they would do a curl or a drag screen, he would get lost every single time. And I'll say this, I won't name names, but there's a couple former NBA players, a couple former Wildcats who were sitting right behind me that couldn't believe what Alonzo Trier was doing on defense. So there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not playing in the NBA if you're doing that. Yeah. So he can score, sure, but he's still got a lot of work to do. He needs a Kadeem Allen improvement on defense in order to really be a first-round pick. Otherwise, he's just going to ride the bench. He's going to be like Nick Johnson. He's going to go flounder in the NBA for a little bit, maybe hang on to a team on the end of the bench, find himself in the D-League, and then find himself in Europe. And that'll be the story of Alonzo Trier. And I don't think he wants that. I know he wants to play in the league. So how are you going to do that? This might be the best place for you for one more year.
All right. And also another name that has crept in, but he hasn't had the minutes to show for it, and that's Kobe Simmons.
Not happening. He might leave. He might leave just because of the fact that he didn't get a lot of run towards the end of the season. But if anybody needs to stay, it's Kobe, because he's got a lot of holes in his game.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't want to realize it, then so be it. That's fine. He can move on and do what Grant Jarrett did and pretty much not play basketball anymore.
Okay.
If that's the route he wants to go. He's a great kid. Talking to him individually, he's got a great perspective on life. He just wants to live it. But as far as the NBA, he's not ready yet.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys are going to get some bad advice. Hopefully he stays and realizes that he can improve. Daniel Fork behind the camera is getting a little tired, so we should probably wrap it up here soon.
Okay.
I'm trying.
Well, Saul, it was a pleasure.
Hey, man, I tell you what. I don't think I've ever been around somebody that has been so hardworking as this guy. He does everything, UATV, camp, Daily Wildcat. He's my go-to guy. Hey, it's been a blast, man.
Hey, likewise, bro.
Always, man.
Seriously,
Always.
this is the veteran right here.
Yeah, man. No,
that
no.
when I thought I was too good for my own good. Seriously, this man right here.
You heard what I said about Trier. You heard what I said about Kobe Simmons. That's exactly what I did to Justin. I just kind of cut him down, brought him back to reality, just so he could build up and be the superstar he's going to be when he leaves this place. Just like those guys, I'm sure will be if they get the right advice. So.
Mike Kadeem Allen.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyways,
that's us. And Danielle Fork behind the camera. You know what? All season long, we've had Danielle Fork behind the camera. So
Got some big arms for me.
Yeah, her arms were all shaky and whatnot.
First of all, Danielle, I just have to come over and say one thing real quick.
Yeah.
This woman right here, by the way, like everything that Saul said about me, it's right here. Danielle, she always brought positivity in my life. She was the one person that anytime I was having a bad day, I would see her in the newsroom, working hard, and it just brought sunshine to my rainy days. And I appreciate you, Danielle, for it. Just like the beautiful man holding the camera right there.
Without these two.
So, anyways, from San Jose, one last time on Daily Wildcat Facebook Live. Thank you.
See you guys.
We love you.